This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded August 18th, but aired August 26th, 2014. Episode 213. Artisinal, Aussie, Assemblage.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
Who's running on Wi-Fi?
No.
Or phone?
No.
Phone. No,
Nope.
You're
No,
back.
no. That was last week. I'm just slow and
Your
cursing the
internet
name of
connection
cable companies
sucks.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Who are you with? Which company are you with?
Time Warner. The one who's supposed to merge with Comcast, which is probably a scheme that the devil himself could not hatch up a better scheme, right?
Right.
Help me, Google Fiber. You're my only hope.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, out comes Sergey Brin with his lightsaber. You know.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
All you needed. Superman. Here I am to save the day. Did you hear about that Superman comic? It's going for like $2 million or something.
I don't understand that crap. You know, like, all that collector stuff, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, it doesn't shock me that much.
Right.
It's all about supply and demand and curves and stuff, right? It's economics.
Yep.
Favorite topic.
And hype and, everything. I should see their hype video for it. Geez, must have cost them a fortune to get someone to professionally shoot and edit and animate this video just for their eBay listing. It's absolutely incredible. And they got the head CEO or something of this, rating agency that rates, comic books, and to come on and say, this is grade, wank, 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 wank. And, it's the greatest copy in the history of the human race and, it's blah, blah, blah. And apparently the last one sold for $2 million or something, and this one is like 10 times better, apparently, because the pages are white,
Yeah, well.
The pages haven't gone yellow, Jeez.
I guess you can't take it with you, huh?
Yeah, no, that's right. That's why the guy's selling it. The guy who owns this comic book store or something is realising, I should probably just, jump on the bandwagon and sell it and
What would be the analog for that for us? It would be like a first edition 555 timer or like...
It'd be an Apple One. Well, not
Apple
really
One.
the electronics in it. For the computer industry, it'd be an Apple One.
Or like,
right?
Or like a Texaco personally reassembled by Jim Williams or something like that. I don't know what it would be.
Well, yeah, it's pretty
signed
niche.
inside.
Yeah. No, we just don't have the hype in our industry, do we? I mean, there's like HP calculators. Like if you've got like a HP 35 with the red dot, it's got to have the red dot on it. Right, and that one's worth, $500 more than the one without the red dot or something,
I was listening to a podcast last week, and there was some, like, quote-unquote expert on there, and he's talking about how, when HP was starting, they were really taking lots of risks, and he jumped to when they started making calculators, and he's like, and the HP 35 was this huge risk, and I'm like, whoa, you're skipping like a crap load of stuff there. I know that's probably when they started going commercial big time, but like,
right.
Like you're not even going to mention the Model 200. Like, come on, man. Like,
I know.
How are you going to just skip all of the cool stuff in the middle there? Like, I don't know.
I wonder how much like an original, oven baked front panel Model 200 would go for.
I bet those go for sale once in a while. Who had one of those? I think it might have been Alan Wolke had one on his bench. Someone
really?
had one.
Okay. But
I apologize. I can't remember who it was.
Was it like and were they serial numbered? Like, is there serial number?
Yeah.
I think they might be.
It was, his was. Whoever this was, I'm sorry, I don't remember who it was. Whoever it was, they had one, and it was serial numbered. It was not an early one, but it was just, an awesome fact. It might have been signed by Bill or Dave. I'm not sure.
Right, because they made, I don't know what, hundreds of thousands of those, didn't they? And they, sold them over like a decade or something. So, I'm sure there's plenty out there.
Well, that's the difference, right? that's the difference between us and like comic books are art and they're low run. Especially when they get started, they're these low runs and they're not sure if they're going to make it, and then they spawn into these big series. Whereas, you don't see things that are, the early prototypes. Maybe if you had maybe if Google Glass was ever popular and you got a hold of the early prototype type of stuff. I mean, I think that'd be the level you'd have to, you have to be at the prototype stage because it would be such a low number of runs and so rare that would be what we'd have to do here. So yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Can anyone think of any parallels for our industry? Maybe like an original Jack, the original, Jack Kilby chip, That didn't that go for auction some time ago?
Yeah, that was. I don't know if that was the one, but that was something like that.
Right, it was a.
Someone corrected us. Yeah, on the comment section, but
yep. Right.
Well, you mentioned the Apple One, and you said the Powerhouse had one, where you gave a talk this weekend.
I did give a talk, and I've got a little bit of a video of the Apple One there.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah, hopefully.
What is the difference for us youngins? What is the Apple One, Apple Two difference? I mean, I know Apple Two is the mass market one. That's the one that I've used, but
Apple II is the mass market one. After they got their venture capital funding from the Intel guy, but no, the Apple One is the original. Woz and Steve, sold their van. Woz sold his HP calculator, and Jobs sold his van and everything, and they got a loan from the. Oh no, they that's right. They put everything on 30-day terms, so they bought all these parts, and they had to sell them within 30 days to Computerland, who put it, got an order for 200 or something, and they made a couple of hundred of these Apple Ones, so in their garage. And they hand build each one, and they weren't serial numbered, by the way. That's a bit of a misconception. There are ones out there with numbers on them, but they were put on by the Computerland store. They were like inventory tracking numbers. So there was no such thing as serial numbers on these early Apple Ones. Anyway, it was just a board. It was just a bare board. There's a lot of people who say it was a kit, but it wasn't a kit. The board was fully assembled. And yeah, it didn't do much at all. It had a video, you could get a video card for it. You could get a tape interface thing for it. And that was about it.
Cool. So you got to see this thing like up close and personal. You didn't get to take it apart, obviously, right?
Oh no. Well, it was behind the glass. But I was
Sir, please stop licking the glass.
yeah, exactly. Well, there was nobody in there. This was before the Powerhouse Museum opened.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering. It's probably worth $500,000. It's just sitting there.
Really? You think it's that much?
I think the last one sold for something like that. It was like £300,000 or something.
Ooh.
Which oh yeah,
dang.
Yeah. These things are because there's only. Apparently, according to Wiki, if memory serves me correctly, there's only 6 known working copies. I'm not sure if this one actually works, but there's 6 known ones that actually boot. And there's like 40 or 50 or something left in the world out of the couple of hundred. They don't know where the other ones went to. They probably just got tossed out or whatever.
That's like the most expensive blue smoke ever if you let the smoke out.
Yep. Anyway, it'd be
Breathe
really
deep,
cool
boys,
if I
because you're never getting that again.
I wonder if they'll let me fondle it and power it up. Maybe that'd make an awesome video. I'm going to have to check on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. or a very expensive blooper reel. Imagine if I blew up an Apple One. Imagine what the fanboys would do.
Do you take Amex? Visa?
yeah.
Anything?
So I'd either be a hero and my video goes viral because I'm powering it up an old Apple One, or it'd go viral anyway, but I'd have pitchforks on my front doorstep. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I thought it was loaned to them from there, but I heard, I haven't spoken to him about it, but I heard one of the Powerhouse Museum guys mention that it's theirs. So I'm not sure.
Huh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, they're pretty rare. One in Sydney here, if you want to go have a look. It's very cool.
Cool, man. So how did the talk go? So you were giving a talk with the what was it, Blue something? Blue Chili? Is that it?
Sebastian, yeah, the CEO of Blue Chili, yes. And that went fairly well. It was just a random
with CEOs, huh, Dave?
Yeah. And it was just a random, off the cuff thing. He just answered me, asked questions and stuff, and we bantered back and forth. Anyway, the video will be going up online eventually. And thank you for everyone who turned up. It was a reasonably full auditorium, so that was good.
Yeah, I saw 5,000. The numbers, 5,000 people attended.
About 5,000 people attended, something like that. So, that's pretty good. I'm not sure, what percentage of those were just coming to the Powerhouse Museum anyway, and they had no idea what a Maker Faire was, because it's all part of the general entry, So they would have their like normal numbers every weekend, but like it was raining here in Sydney. It was pretty awful weather, which is very uncharacteristic, even in wintertime. But yeah, anyway, there were people like out. I've got this time lapse of like, there's people outside, and I've got a time lapse of all people coming in. And even an hour after it started, there's this huge, massive line right out the door and around the courtyard and down the stairs to try and get into the place. It was, it was packed. So
no surprises though?
In terms of what, stuff there?
Yeah, I don't know. So I think about, so I've been to Maker Faire twice now. And to be honest, I mean, like, I still enjoy it. I love seeing the people, but like, there's some repeating time to time.
There was. So. That's what happened here. Like, it was cool. It was much cooler the first time for me because it was all new. Whereas there are a lot of the same stuff here this time. So please forgive my lack of enthusiasm if I don't put it all on video. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah. No, but it was good, It was a bit different to last time. They didn't have, like, any outdoors type stuff. Like, last time they were, like, launching rockets and things like that outside and, stuff like that. And
that guy's car alarm stopped at this time. It was...
But you got to understand, this is a mini Maker Faire. It is not a Maker Faire. It's a mini Maker Faire. And there is a huge characteristic difference between the two. So in terms of scale,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, right.
Yeah. To
I think
get
there's
to
only
a full
3 Maker Fairs now, right? There's only Rome, San Francisco, and New York are the only official ones.
Oh,
Detroit was an official one. Yeah, but it's not anymore.
Oh, why? Did they do something wrong?
No, I think probably just because like if you can only draw so many people and you expect, it's just about resources. I'm sure, this is all talking out of my butt, but like Detroit is a limited size city, right? It's I think 2 million in the metropolitan area, and if you're not going to get enough people down there, right, it's tough. And if you're going to spend a lot of money for promoting, and you're going to not get as many people coming in the middle, right? We're in the middle,
right?
So
got it.
Probably won't be a Sydney Fair or Maker Faire Perth. With all apologies to Perth again.
Well,
or what's in the middle there?
Well, there probably
Adelaide.
won't be a Maker Faire Sydney. And in fact, I've got a talk on this. The organizer of the Sydney Maker Faire, I've got a talk where he discusses all this sort of stuff. And, it's just not possible to have a Maker Faire, a full official Maker Faire at the Powerhouse Museum. It's just not big enough. The museum can't cater for 50,000 people or whatever. It's not. Right. You need huge, big, exhibition centres. Which they happen to be building next door at the moment. They just demolished the old exhibition centre in Sydney here, and they're building this whole new one that's going to be massive and being at modern, blah 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 blah. So maybe one day when that's all done. We can have a full-on Maker Faire, but I don't know if there's enough people here who'd be interested in it, So, and you can't exactly rely on people flying in from overseas, Hey, let's spend a couple of grand to go all the way to Australia to attend the Sydney Maker Faire,
Yeah, man, I was looking at tickets again the other day. It's like $2,300 to fly out there from here right now.
Is it? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Well, you can get your new employer to take up the tab there. Always spend someone else's money if you can.
Yeah, that's nice, yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, but no, it's certainly not cheap. So
yeah, that is tough. I mean, I think the next big one is September, is the one in New York, and then excuse me, the October one is in Rome, but that's also with the Open Hardware Summit, which
they're combining it, are they? Are they?
Well, they're not combining it, but but I think they planned it because they also wanted to get people in the area and everything like that.
Right. Well,
they
that
did
makes
post
sense.
the speakers list, and it's not the usual crowd for Open Harbor. I mean, there are some familiar faces there, but it actually looks like a broader swath of people, like some unfamiliar names, which is cool. So
mostly
should
European
be some good talks
or what?
Yeah, the ones that I didn't recognize were definitely European. I mean,
Right.
So
Well,
that's
it
good though.
makes
I mean, that's
sense.
really good.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, that's the whole idea, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
it just becomes the same, conference every year, right?
yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly.
yeah, no, it's good.
So yeah, if people
And-
are over there, I would recommend going.
And
I
you're
am
still
going
going?
to be there.
You're going to
No,
Rome,
I'm not going to that. I'm going to be at Electronica, which is the following
right.
month.
Germany.
So it wasn't
Gosh
quite
darn
worth it. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Although the same weekend of not the same weekend, I guess, but the so that October 1st time frame, like the 4th, that's the Hackaday 10th anniversary. So if people are in the LA area, I'll be
Sweet.
out there probably. Yeah. And we'll have speakers and stuff like that for.
Excellent.
Yeah.
10 years?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
10 years.
Okay. Didn't think it was that old. Jeez, YouTube isn't even 10 years old.
Yeah, it's what, 8 years old now, right?
I think, it turned
2006?
8 the other, it's like 8.5 or something. Something like that, yeah.
It's weird thinking about life pre-YouTube, isn't it?
I know. It's just, pre-YouTube, pre-Google, all that sort of jazz.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. Yep. Scary. Now, well, the youngsters don't even remember pre-Kickstarter now. I mean,
Right.
oh, goodness. Yep. I don't know.
Youngins.
I know.
So, I gave a talk.
Where at?
A while back. So we have a hardware meetup in. So this is going to happen a couple times now, or more than once. I'm going to be back out in San Francisco next month. The amp hour is now devolved into me and Dave talking about travel schedules.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
but
your
I do have some
travel
electronics to
schedule's
talk
not
about
mine.
here too. Yeah. So at the last one, I was at the supply frame and Hackaday. We had a meetup on a Thursday night. I mentioned that last show, right? So I was doing a talk.
Right.
So I actually did give a talk about KiCad, and I got KiCad running, and I will out myself as a sometimes Mac user. Bum, bum, bum.
Yuppie.
Yeah, I know. I work for a web company now. I have to, right? But no, so the tough thing is that if people are up on their KiCad lore, there is no stable build for Mac at all. There's one in the works, but even the one I have, the early one, it does not work well. It still crashes. So I had to install a virtual machine and get it up and running on Ubuntu, and so I got it up and running, and I got to try out the new features, the push and shove router. I think you've seen that.
I haven't played. I've seen video of it. I haven't played with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Does Altium has that, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's some big news there.
Yeah, you get to that. Yeah, KiCad first, man.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. But yeah. So talk one, okay. I mean, I get to show it off. There's really not much else to say. But we're gonna have another meetup. I'll be back out there for the hardware workshop, which is like a hardware startup thing. Next month, there's a bunch of speakers and stuff, so I'll be out there and attending that, and we're gonna have another meetup around then. So,
Right.
keep your ears open, I suppose. I guess.
Sweet.
All right, Dave. Now you can go. What is your big
Right.
news?
Well, this is
You
what I
and
was
your-
talking. This is what I
Yeah.
alluded to last week at the
Last
end of
week.
last
Yep.
week's show. Yep.
Yep.
And yes, it's how I have tweeted it. Yes, it is an exclusive here on the Amp Hour. Well, apart from my tweet.
Are you allowed to talk about this? That's the thing we should check into. We shouldn't, so we're not getting a cease and desist later.
No, I am allowed to talk. They said I could talk about it. There's some things I can't talk about. But no, we can. No, they are releasing a free version of software finally, as they originally promised. It was going to come out like a year ago, which I thought was imminent. Everyone thought it was imminent. That was the rumor going around like a year ago. And that's why I rushed to do that video I did back then, because I thought it was a couple of weeks away. My top 5, tips for Altium,
right.
About how not to screw it up. And, well, as it turns out, they actually watched that, and as much as they didn't like me, they went, we're probably not quite on the right track. So they held off, and now they've finally decided, we're going to do it properly, and yes, it's coming out. I'm not going to tell you an exact date or anything like that, or too many details, but it is free. I have seen it. I haven't actually played with it, but I have seen it on a conference call. They have shown it to me and told me the details, and it does look like they're going in the right direction. Let's just say that.
So this is the worst news I've had in months. Not because I'm worried about KiCad,
right,
and not because of any other reason other than Dave gets to think that he did this.
Right. Yeah.
Worst news ever.
Like to think I had a hand in guiding it, and well, see, they, I still think Altium don't like me, but they figured that, but they figured that, look, I was going to talk about it anyway, and they also wanted my feedback on the concept before they released it, and so they showed it to me early, and trust me, they're on the right track, I think. Yep. Some people won't be happy with some. There's the odd part of it that I'm not, too happy about. But overall, yes, definitely heading in the right direction. I think people are assuming it works. Of course, haven't played with it yet.
Remains to be seen. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But no, they could be on a real winner here. So, yes.
Well, we'll see. That's good, man.
People won't have to wait. People won't have to wait too much longer. Hopefully. So. Yep.
Now, the real question for me is, will a free version like this get all the people in China to stop stealing licenses?
I don't know. Because because it is a new program. Okay, that rumor is true. It is not just Altium Designer, with a license restriction in there to limit the number of layers and, area and stuff like that. No, it's not entirely new. I'm sure it's based on, I don't know about the code details, but I'm sure it's based on, some AD code, and it will, the functionality will apparently be like Altium Designer, but the user interface is designed, they are specifically targeting the maker, hobbyist maker sort of movement. So,
cool.
So they really needed to dumb it down, which I said in my original video was a dumb thing to do, very silly thing to do, because just from a company resources perspective, now they have to maintain 2 different programs, right? I'm not sure how different they are in terms of code base, but hey, you're still got to maintain 2 different programs. So that taxes the company from a resources point of view. But I can understand why they did it, because Altium's not, not the most user-friendly package in terms of getting stuff. Once you know it, it's reasonably good, but the learning curve for the beginner isn't fantastic. So they've changed the GUI.
Yeah, I've talked to someone about Altium, and they said, they're like, oh yeah, well, sometimes there's context menus that are 3 layers deep.
They're 3 layers deep, and there's multiple.
Click, yeah.
Yep, and there's multiple ways to do things, and they're not in logical locations and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, the new version, the new GUI is designed to be, really beginner friendly. So. Yep.
That's great, man. I can't wait to see that. That's going to be really cool.
Yeah, same here. I can't wait to actually play with the thing. So. Yep. Hopefully. So, cool. It won't be too much longer, They are targeting, let's just say they are targeting release this year. So
Cool.
Hopefully you shouldn't have to wait till next year to get your hands on it.
And we should stop Dave before he talks about it anymore.
Yeah, I know. Otherwise I'm going to give something
folks.
away.
He'll keep going, yeah.
Yeah, I might give something away. Anyway, I'm not, I was quite happy with what they... Basically, they let me have a look at it and told me all about it, and they were waiting for me to, go, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. What the hell did you do that for? And, but there was hardly any of that. So, yep, my initial gut reaction is winner.
Cool.
Let's hope it
That's
just
great.
works. Yep, because Altium's famous for their bugs. So let's see how it works. Anyway, yep.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Cool.
I'm excited because I was borderline about to make the big move to KiCad.
Oh yeah, KiCad lost a potential.
Yeah,
There's still hope, folks. There's still hope.
Well, I'll probably still do it, but I've been using Altium for 20 plus years. I don't want to change. So anyway,
grumpy old man. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Oh well, it's a tool. Why? It's a tool to get a job done. Right? At the end of the day, all these things, it doesn't matter whether you use Linux, you use Windows, you use Mac, or whatever, and then whatever compiler you use to do your stuff, it's a tool to get a job done. Right? So arguing over which one's better is just, stupid, really. It's the one that you personally like and use to get a job done. That's it. End of story. Yep.
Not completely sure I agree. I did put up my talk from SolidCon. I put up my slides from that.
Let's argue then. Let's go.
What else are we here for?
Exactly. Well, come on, give us your spiel.
Well, this comes back to the same argument we've had in the past. Not the same argument, but the same discussion we've had in the past, right? If you put out a piece of hardware that's open source hardware, I guess now there's possibly less licensing restrictions, but I guess it comes down to the level of openness, right? That's kind of what it came down to. That's what my talk was about. Is like where does the level of openness stop, right? And like we've talked about before, it's always going to be a sliding scale. And design made in Eagle can still work if all this stuff is within the licensed area, but if you were making something in Altium previously and you couldn't open up the files without Altium, that was definitely a hindrance. And now,
but a hindrance. But that's the thing, a hindrance for who, right? Because I'm sure you'll agree with me that 99.99% of people buying open hardware products don't actually want to play around and don't touch it. They just want a finished product and they want the warm fuzzy knowing that it's open hardware. Right.
Yeah, I do agree with that, and I mentioned that in the talk as well. But I don't know. It's just kind of like what it comes down to, and where that does happen. I mean, so this has been beat to death, but
yeah, it has. And basically, with this new Altium release, it's going to put. In fact, I will say it's going to be better positioned than Eagle in this respect. So, from the point of view that you're talking about here, Altium will be more open than Eagle in that respect. Yeah. Because Eagle, of course, you can't do any commercial stuff at all without paying the license, that paying your $50 or whatever, and things like that.
So I put in there a practical test. So like a test that I just like a practical test. I don't even know if I came up with this. But basically, can one person in the world build what you built, right? So that's like when you talk about open source hardware, if I finish the design and give it to you, what kind of hoops do you have to jump through? Like, is it like, do you have to have an agreement with the chip vendor, right? Like, so like even the Raspberry Pi is not open source hardware, right? Having to deal with Broadcom, that would never work, right?
Right. Okay.
And having to buy a license of Altium Designer, that would not work.
Or Eagle, and so, right? If your board is bigger than 160 millimeters or whatever it is, tough tits. You've got to buy a $500 or $1,000 version of Eagle, and then it instantly becomes non-open, right? Because you have to pay that money.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's like it's where all the lines are drawn and everything there. So, and then So it seems like this new Altium thing could help pass that test. Obviously, I'm jaded, but
right, yeah, of course. No, ultimately, if you're talking PCB openness, the only, there are those people who complain about KiCad as well, isn't there? That it must be what's the other open source PCB one?
Jita,
yes. Apparently, isn't there some difference between them, and some people say, oh, Jeter's the only
probably,
true
yeah.
open. Oh, there's some technicality there or something. I don't know. Yeah, but no, it's, I mean, if you want to, take it to that level, then, Altium's not good enough. Eagles, none of the commercial packages are good enough. But yeah. I just think that's dumb. I mean, no. It's crazy. If it's affordable enough, I can understand, if it's like Altium Designer and you've got to pay $10,000 for the top package, or you've got to pay, $1,000 for the top package of Eagle, then okay, fine. It's not really, open. But if you only have to pay, $50 or something, then, it's good enough. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've started taking that. I've been surprised that lately I've been taking that tact with software as well. Whereas before I would have, dug my feet in and been like, no, I shouldn't have to pay for anything, And
right.
These days I'm just like, I just want it to work.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Oh, well, yeah, you'll happily pay the $50 or $100 to make it work, to get something that works, right? Rather than dicking around.
Yeah, these days, yes. So
anyway, how's your new KiCad forum going?
Good, real good actually. I really like this software.
Right, I haven't used it. Sorry,
that's okay. But it's good. I mean, it's probably like 100 users so far, and there's always that fall off. But
yep, 100 users is a decent critical mass, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
No.
So,
hopefully that's enough to keep things going.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's probably like 5 to 10 questions a day kind of thing. I mean, but I don't know. I don't know how fast this kind of grows. So the things I like about it though, it's like, you drop a picture on top of the text box, and it just once you have, there's all these trust levels in this program. So it's kind of like
right.
You can't post until you read so many posts, or basically it's just
really?
like
okay. Right.
a human way of proving that you're not a spam bot, and it's great. I mean, we've only had one problem so far, and so it's cool. The thing we've been talking about, and I've been talking about this on Twitter a bunch as well. I mean, so one of the problems that we have with the KiCad stuff is that there's no stable builds like we've talked about on the show before. So the plan is within the next month or two, if nothing comes up, we're just going to we're going to build and dump versions onto KiCad.info, and at least have a benchmark there. Then you can have even if you just know it's a standard build, it's done on the same day every month, or same day of every month, right? And then you can enumerate any errors that pop up. Might not be the best idea, going into it at least. It's not going to be listed as stable, but it's just a regular build.
Right, it's right. Okay, so it hasn't been verified by a small community and then given the stable stamp of approval.
Right. Well, because the problem is there's no way. So if we pick, it goes in version numbers, right? So BZR, the one I built on Ubuntu, I built it from source. Actually, I was pretty proud of myself. I can follow directions.
Well done.
That was 5067. I think the latest is 5078. So I was maybe 10, 15 releases behind, but those are small releases, right? And crap, where was I going with this?
I don't know, but it sounds bloody complicated.
Playback. Yeah, I don't know.
Sounds like you're a week out of date and you're already 15 releases behind or something. It's just.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Say we even built, right? So we build 5050, right? And we verify it. We say there's these errors. If there's not a way for us to feed back this stuff to the developers, right? In a normal software flow, I would think you'd have a pre-release. People would check it, right? They'd do QA on it. They'd feed it back to the developers, and then they would do an official release, right? And if there's not that, then you can't do it. So, I don't know. It's like this weird outside position, and it's fine, right? I'm a booster for the program. If that's the best I can do, if I give people a place to talk about it, I don't care, right? I mean, that's good enough. And the interesting thing, I said I got this new version working. It looks almost the same. There's not appreciable GUI differences. So in that case, I just tell people build the old stuff or use the old stuff for now until there's something better and verified. So
I'm waiting for the day when somebody comes on board with some money for this thing so that, like somebody can, be paid like their full-time job is sort of, taking care of this sort of stuff, doing this sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, and like we mentioned in the past, I mean, CERN has jumped in, and they're also taking donations for doing that sort of thing. So,
yeah, and the best thing you can do with
donate.
that money is to hire one or two people full time. Just to
right.
Just to test the absolute crap out of it, and then go, yes, this is the official stable version. Here you go. Here's the official release. Here's the the nice Windows setup program and the whole shebang.
Yeah. The interesting thing is going to be, I think, so for the next version of Contextual Electronics, I think, so I'm going to be doing the same course and the same videos and everything, but I'm going to have like an alternate track where I do everything in the latest version of KiCad and all the videos. So like I'll have like a running version of that, and that allows me to error check all of my past videos, and then I'll also be able to rebuild it in the new version and kind of track alongside it while people are taking the course. And it'll just be confusing as hell, I'm sure.
Again.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, really. Well, I mean, like, this is like it for any CAD program, right? I mean, like, so when do you upgrade, right? So, I mean, you had to deal with this at Altium, but I've had that where, you have boards that are in an old program, they're in a new program, you have stuff, like I was between, I don't even remember the versions, but I was using DX Designer in the past, and there was like a big upgrade where it changed from like a file-based system where everything was stored in like a text-based plain text file, and then it moved to a database, and you just couldn't edit anything anymore.
Well, they're huge changes, which are rarely done in big commercial packages,
Yeah.
So
in KiCad, it switched the footprint style switched, right? The extension changed.
Right.
I mean, there are big changes. So, but I mean, when like this is not a problem that is confined to just me, right? Anytime there's a big upheaval, where do you how do you do that? Do you redo all your old designs? Like I remember at a past company, we got stuck because the actual CAD program went obsolete, right? The people doing it just stopped using it, and we were just stuck with Gerbers. And there were, and then you have to manually edit Gerbers then and try and not break anything. Like you're basically doing like Paint Shop Pro at that point, right? I mean, you're basically connecting stuff in the copper, right? And that's how it used to be done, but what else can you do?
We didn't have a huge drama with that at Altium. As you know, I was in the hardware group, right? And us hardware group, we were trying to design real hardware using the Altium tool, of course, but they would want us to use, the latest daily build and stuff like that. So,
so
on the one,
you've dealt with this,
yeah. So I do, and very rarely did, we use a daily build to do like serious work, right? Actually designing real boards, and then all of a sudden they go, "Oops, no, you shouldn't have, done that because we accidentally corrupted the file format or something like that." But in the rare instances that did happen, well, we could just go to the developers. But I just spent 2 days worth of work, laying out this board, and you're telling me it's in the wrong file format, and they just, wrote a little script to, convert it between old and new, and everything's hunky-dory. So I can't remember actually ever losing any work, from doing that.
Good.
But that was certainly a challenge, using like a daily build, which may or may not actually work, to do real work is, a bit scary. But you sort of got to trust it in the end that, you weren't going to lose all your work.
Well, it's nice when the developer lives down the street from you, right? Down the hall, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All you got to do is lean over your cubicle, and hey, can you fix it for me? Yeah. It's not a problem. But anyway,
it's good to have friends in software either way. As much as we love hardware.
But in the end, I've got to admit the hardware group did get a bit jack of doing the daily build thing.
Yeah.
It was much
it gets
better.
tired, right? I mean, sometimes you want you want a tool, right? You don't want a project, you want a tool. That's the same thing that was told to me about
tool to do
about
the job.
CNC machines. Yep. Right.
Exactly. So we would all get to a version that we'd trust. It'd have like the least number of bugs in it, and we'd just like stick with that. you know, and just to, you know, because look, I've got a head down, bum up for the next 2 weeks, you know, laying out this 8-layer board. You know, I really don't want any disruptions of daily builds and stuff like that. So, yep. Good fun, good times.
Yeah, man.
We've got a whole bunch of, if we haven't rattled off enough wank word bingo words yet, we've got a whole bunch of them here on the Reddit thread, dude.
They're on the way, folks.
There's women in engineering, there's marketing versus engineering, there's Internet of Things. Man.
Well,
where do we start?
We don't have to talk about marketing versus engineering. I found out that was a video that I giggled at it, right? And then I got a message from them on Twitter like, "Oh, thanks for liking our video. We're a company that makes videos to try and get people to click on them about engineering."
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah.
And you got dude.
May it be struck from the record. Yeah, boo. I don't care if it made me laugh.
Right, so are they, you know, like those companies who I get emailed all the time, you know, oh, we'd like to do a sponsored blog post, you know?
Yeah, boo.
And, boo, yeah. Oh, we'll create any content you like, you know, as long as you link back to us, and I piss off.
Right. Let's wash that terrible taste out of our mouth with something that's actually pretty awesome. So over at Evil Mad Scientist Labs, Lenore and Wendell's company, and then Eric, I forgot his last name. The guy who did the other discrete stuff. Basically, they have they did this discrete 555 timer a while back, and now they have a discrete 741.
Yep.
Right, which is great. I think this is a great way, you know, because especially like when you look at the structure. I mean, like, you know, a 741 op amp. They're leaky, but you know, like 10 millivolts of average of voltage offset and stuff like that. But like, it's been around a long time, and it's built, you know, it's BJT process, and like, but it's like the structure really doesn't change, right? You know, you have a differential balance on the front end, and then, you know, you amplifier and stuff like that, and all the current sources, everything like that. It's just a good way to learn about that stuff, and that's really the reason to do this kind of thing. And not only that, you know, we've talked about pattern matching before. Like how that's a big part of electronics, is kind of seeing patterns, right? Every time you see an inverting op amp, it's pretty obvious, right? I mean, you start to just kind of see the matrix in that way. It doesn't look like a bunch of resistors. It's, you know, in a triangle, it's now inverting op amp, and it becomes a block. Same kind of thing here, right? When you start to see this, you see, you know, and then sometimes you'll see someone put
you see a current. There's a current mirror. There's a current source.
Exactly. Exactly. You see you see that differential input with, like, now someone did it with JFES to try and get lower input bias and stuff like that. Like all of these things, you see them over and over and over again. They're these themes that you see basically, and that's a great reason to pick one of these up and kind of really dig into it. And the best part about this is that you can actually go in and probe that thing. That's really cool. I mean, you could have done that on LT Splice at any point, right? But doing it in real life is great.
Exactly.
So, plus, you know, we love Evil Mad Science folks, so they're great. Yeah,
and it looks like a giant chip. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, they love their laser cutter over there.
They do.
Yeah. Okay, so no more marketing video stuff. We got the good stuff in with the 741. What about this other stuff? The IoT things, because I think this is pretty interesting and important. Mostly because I had a friend contact me the other day and saying him and his wife were thinking about taking my course because they're interested in starting a hardware company. Right, and these are people who are not necessarily doing hardware in the past, right? So you know, there are people that are outside the field that are interested in moving in. They're not far outside the field by any stretch, but you know, people are starting to see dollar signs. So let's talk about the dollar signs.
$15 million, which is not much in today. You know, it's not Nest level. You know, which is the holy grail
this is raised
stupidness.
money, though. This is not bought for. This is raised money.
Oh,
right?
sorry,
so this
sorry.
is
Yes,
an investment.
You know. Yep.
So Electric Imp raised $15 million from Foxconn, right, which is a big deal,
and
because
others,
Foxconn.
Yep.
Right. Well, Foxconn are the ones who make Apple products. We did have Brandon on the show like
we did
10 or 15 shows ago. I got to meet him at that event that I was at. He was there.
Right.
So I got to meet him and talk to him for a little bit. But yeah, that's basically like ramping them like crazy, right? I mean, that's...
Right. And apparently the founder put some more of his own money in.
Right,
So,
always a big sign.
Yeah, he's one of the co-founders of Nest, so he had a,
Right.
had a whole...
Helps when you have money in the bank, yeah.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Well, and so
Money
we talked to Brandon about this a little bit as well, right? So we talked to him about... He mentioned that the Imp 03, right? The thing where they're partnering with Murata.
Make that little tiny module thing, yeah.
Right, and that's the thing it's going to take, right? So, you think about scaling up big time, right? It takes a lot of money, right? You got to, if you're prototyping products and everything like that, when you're prototyping in silicon, even if they take off some of the costs.
This isn't just components on a board. This isn't just an Arduino, right? It's there's innovative manufacturing technology that goes into making these modules, and you need to team up with one of the big players. You need serious money,
Right.
So
their big move is trying to, so like they partner with Quirky a lot, who we've mentioned on the show before. They're the ones who are doing, so Quirky's partner with GE, right? So GE's huge name, right?
Oh,
and Quirky uses a lot of electric imp to connect their stuff. So yeah, I mean, Quirky are the ones that we mentioned last week with the someone putting Wireshark on a egg tray, right?
Yeah, right. I would
still.
put electric imp at the most likely to succeed level in this Internet of Things module business at the moment. There's quite a few players out there, but I'd probably put those at the as the most viable to succeed.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of interest for sure. I mean, we talked to Brandon. Obviously, they know a lot of their stuff. They know the power stuff, right? That's what Brandon talked about.
They know that. Yeah, they know the low power stuff. They've got the tiny form factor stuff. They got like built into the SD card, and now they got the Murata module and stuff like that. Yeah,
Have you tried out the Squirrel programming language yet?
No, I haven't.
No,
I
tried
have to get one of the kits. Yeah.
Okay, I got mine blinking, so that's good.
Right. Well, I don't have one, so I can't make it blink.
Yeah, I don't know how much the closed nature of it. I mean, this is what it ultimately comes down to, right? Like, so we talked about the server side is not open, right? So that it lives on their servers.
Right.
And I'm guessing if you gave them a big enough chunk of cache, they would set it up on your servers, so it didn't have to go through their servers. That's just a guess. I don't know if that's actually true. And so I mean, that's kind of the reality. But I think a lot more people will hand off that control, for better or worse, in order to get stuff to market quickly and stuff that is low power and everything else.
That's a given, yeah.
Right. I say now as a Mac user.
Right.
Oh, the shame.
Oh, goodness. Weren't you bitching about the Mac? You couldn't make it do stuff?
Oh, it's a big shift, man. It's...
Right.
I had this conversation though when I was out there before we had this meetup the other night. So I got to meet with someone who's a hardware and software developer, right? He was doing both, and really bright guy. But we were talking about CAD programs, right? So we were talking about CAD programs. We do talk about this not just on the Amp Hour, but when you think about KiCad, you think about like Altium never had a Windows version, or only had a Windows version rather.
Yep.
And you think about what it is in the future. Yeah, maybe it does go like upverter style because people want to be able to do it on whatever platform they're on, right? Maybe you want to do it from an Android tablet, right? God help you. I don't know how that would work, but like that's the thing. Like basically like the givens in hardware are no longer given, right? That's kind of the thing.
Right.
So same thing with Electric Imp, right? I mean, like maybe people are willing to give up this stuff. Maybe the idea of having full stack control is no longer a given, right? I mean, people are willing to hand that stuff off with the knowledge that there's some trade-offs. Your egg tray might
there's
have Wireshark on it. Still makes me laugh.
Boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, excellent news for them.
Yeah,
so
congrats to
good
them.
luck.
Yeah, that's good. And I wish them all the best. I mean, they're not a lot. So we had there was an article we had on a while back. But talking about basically the standards wars that are going to happen, right? Because right now, there's lots of different ways to connect to stuff and everything else. Eventually, something's going to fall into place, right? There's going to be a lot of different like methods and ways of connecting to things and protocols and stuff like that. But eventually, something's going to stick. So it'll be interesting to see what actually does.
Well, apparently one of the big issues is that for the Internet of Things to take off and work, it actually needs IP version 6 take up. They can't stick with the original. Yeah, they can't stick with the original IP version 4, which we've been using on the internet for the last, 30 years.
That's right, just because of the number of devices, right?
The number of devices is limited. Yeah, because IP version 4 is limited to 32 bits, a 32-bit address. So you've only got like 4 billion addresses or whatever. So, but the Internet of Things, the IP version 6 is 128-bit. So, yeah, apparently required. And I read something the other day that there's only like a 1% take-up at the moment of IP 6, so across the internet. So, yeah. Apparently that's important, and that's vital for the success.
Yeah, that is important.
But it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Well, yeah, of course, right. When someone says, "Yeah, you can't get either that or the market for IPv4 addresses will go like Superman comic books."
Right.
Bringing it all back, Dave. Bringing it all back.
We've got this lovely address. It's 123.123.123, and hey, it'll never come up again.
You missed the set. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird thinking about that stuff. Just when you get used to it. It all changes around again.
Oh.
The Samsung is another one that, so they bought Smart Things. I don't know if we've ever talked about them before, but that's kind of like the, Smart Things was meant to be like the thing that sits in your house and kind of manages all the crap inside the house. Like it's like the...
fail.
Everything on Bluetooth, everything on Ant, everything on the 6LoWPAN or whatever that is. And... like you can just see it over and over and over again, but people being like, okay, every platform's like, well, we're the standard now, right? It's kind of like who stands up and yells the loudest and grows the fastest, and that's what they want to be, right? So they create this gateway, and then everything goes through them, and okay, well, yeah. So
I don't know. The right tool for the job's always going to win out,
I don't know what the right tool for that job is, though, Dave. I mean, like that's the thing. Like, so when it comes down to it, does everything need to get directly onto onto a Wi-Fi network, right? I mean, like, what if you replace your Wi-Fi router with a smart router, right?
Yeah. That's why I don't like this whole Internet of Things thing. People are just, think that everything's going to be connected. They're not. The most efficient way to turn your lights off and on is always going to be a freaking switch on your wall. It's like...
yeah, it's definitely the easiest way for a human.
Exactly.
For sure, yeah. But the idea is that, like energy savings. No, that's the idea.
No.
It's like eventually if there was, Australia's big on or used to be big on green energy before Abbott. Nothing said for the United States.
Right.
But I mean, like, you could imagine that, somewhere that's still into that stuff, right? So, like, I don't know, Norway? I don't know. If there was something like that where it's energy efficiency type stuff, eventually it would need to be centrally controlled. And I don't know, Dave. Like,
no.
Yeah.
It's a solution looking for a problem.
Yeah.
Often. I don't like it.
Speaking of a solution looking for a problem... did you ever do any DSP stuff? There was actually this really good guide that was someone posted it to the subreddit. Tony W posted it, but a guide to DSP basically. You ever used to do any stuff?
It's a free book, dude. I posted that like years ago on my blog, like 4 years ago.
Oh, it's been a long time ago.
Yeah,
okay,
it's been around a long time.
It's still good stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a free book. Yeah. Go and download it. It's awesome. Yep.
Have you ever done DSP stuff before though?
Yeah. I've done TMS 320 DSP stuff back in the day. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. I was talking to someone about this. Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
Well, I was talking to someone over the week or last week about that. I was like, oh well. I used to do DSP stuff on FPGAs, and I kind of sat back and I thought about it, and I'm like, No, MATLAB used to do DSP stuff for FPGAs. It was like that
Right.
that tool chain of like I'd made like the fancy math models, and they weren't that fancy. Really, my boss made them, and I kind of tested them, and
Right.
And then they got translated to FPGA code or VHDL in that case, and then you kind of
Right.
wrap around it with code, and it's
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, it's still awesome, but yeah,
Yep.
kind of like how
FPGAs have DSP blocks in them.
They
So
do,
they can
right,
do,
right.
they can do the fast multiplication and all that sort of jazz.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah,
But you still
they're
gotta tie
awesome
them
in the
all together.
parallel.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right, but my point was, I feel like I've done DSP stuff, but I haven't, and the other thing is like when you say DSP, right? A lot of people think, oh, you've used a DSP processor, which means you've taken algorithms that are FIR filters, and you've translated them into C. You've run through the loop, and really DSP filters are just, or DSP processors are just processors on crack, right? I mean, they just run super fast.
They've got specific just like the FPGAs. They've got specific hardware
right.
cores that do, an FFT, matrix, or they do a fast multiplication and 128-bit multiplication, all in hardware in a single cycle. That's what a DSP does. There's nothing apart from that. There's nothing fancy.
Okay, so when you wrote that stuff, when you wrote like C code for a TMS 320, was that like you would have a specific function you would call because it was optimized for like a
Well, I wasn't doing it at the assembly level. I rarely got down to that. Only like maybe one little subroutine or something that was ultra critical or something like that. But no, otherwise you're using, supplied libraries. You're not going to write your own, fur filter from scratch or something like that. You just
okay.
Use
so like when the compiler sees
library.
that function, it's gonna put in the right assembly to use the block.
Yes. To use the block, it already has the stuff pre-compiled to use those blocks and things like that. So to use the processor in its optimum way. So
gotcha.
Yep. So you just use it like any other micro. It just becomes a super fast micro for doing math stuff. That's basically what a DSP is. There's no difference.
Nice.
Something that'd take 100 cycles on a regular, an ARM chip, takes a single cycle or a couple of cycles on a DSP. You need to multiply 228-bit numbers, no problem. Single cycle, boom.
Right, that's awesome. Yeah, math.
Yeah.
Yay, math. Yeah, so this has a lot of the stuff. I mean, this is pretty much like a standard textbook, right? I mean, like it's it covers a lot of the fundamentals and things like that. But it's good to know, right? I mean, Z transforms, yeah?
Yeah,
Remember
right,
those?
yeah. No thanks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you used to do audio stuff, didn't you do like hearing aids or something like that at one point?
I've worked for Cochlear, yes. But no, I don't know. The audio stuff is I've done a ton of audio stuff in the seismic field.
Oh, that's right. You did. Yeah, that's right. The underwater stuff, right?
Yeah, the
That
underwater,
makes sense.
soundwater. It's basically anywhere from DC to 2 kilohertz. That's the That's high frequency, 2 kilohertz, in the seismic domain.
In my head, I'm imagining Dory from Finding Nemo being like, "Do you speak whale?"
I love that scene.
So Dave does though, yeah. So if you ever need to talk to a whale,
speak whale.
He also lives at P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, right?
Right, yeah. Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Great show, though.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. I think we made it through. We didn't cover everything, I don't think, but
come on, we didn't even cover women in engineering.
I didn't read this one. That's why.
Right. Okay. Well, you put it on here, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't always read what I post.
Right.
I mean, this makes sense though. I mean, like from. Basically, it's like even if you have the numbers going into in engineering programs and stuff like that, it's no guarantee because work cultures and misogyny and stuff like that can push people out, right? Push women out of the field, and I mean, if there's, I don't know, it's a tough field regardless, right? But it's
Well, they're saying 40% of women with engineering degrees either leave the profession or never enter the field. Well,
Right.
I want to put that in perspective because I reckon that, well, probably 40% of men with engineering degrees
Right.
never enter the profession either. So you've got to...
I do agree you need a control there, right? I mean,
exactly.
you have to compare it because that does sound extreme, of course. But I mean, a lot of people
have to normalise the figure out to the same level as men, and they
right.
haven't
and
done
I don't
that
know
here.
what they count as well, right? So a lot of times, like if someone goes from an engineering program into a sales job, right? Like one of my friends from school, he was in my engineering program, and then within like 2 years, he was selling me stuff, right? He was actually selling me, and he was great at what he did because he had the background, but he didn't have engineer in his title at all, right?
Right.
So does that count? I mean, like engineering, nearby engineering. He was making double the money I was. I know that.
Right. Well, there you go. Who's doing it wrong?
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's up to and he had the skill set for it for sure. He was great. So I don't know how those numbers work, but that's not to say that this is wrong at all, right? I mean, like this is. But
yeah.
I mean, it's a bros club sometimes, right? I mean, like I've been at lunch tables. I've been in engineering companies. Like it's yeah. I've heard talk of how things used to be at
Right,
engineering companies, right?
Exactly.
I mean, like it was just, especially when you have people coming through the older culture too. It doesn't excuse it in the slightest, but it just that feeds into the culture as well. So I could see how that definitely affects things. So the question is, how do we change it, right? I mean, like that's
if you're a woman, don't complain about it. Just go in there and change it. I mean,
that's a tough one, Dave.
Well, look, I mean, you can't expect it. Doesn't it's not just women in engineering; it's whatever. You can't just expect a whole industry to like a culture. We're not talking about industry here. We're almost talking about culture. And well, the way to change culture is not to bitch about it and say, "Oh, we need legislation to change." Just get in there and do cool stuff and change it. Earn people's respect.
I think that also comes to us, though, too, right?
Don't,
I mean,
don't think that you're entitled to something just because you're.
But I think that what ultimately comes down to is that it's kind of on the it's kind of cultural shift happens across many people, right? So it's also not that you or I work in a workplace anymore, but it's encouraging that kind of thing, talking about it on here, right? So
yeah, that's right.
It's important.
Exactly. And just, calling out shit where you see it, right? If you're,
of course,
seeing somebody give a woman, or anyone a hard time, it doesn't have to be a woman. It can be it can be some newbie who's, come in, and if they're giving them a hard time, go and, slap them over the head. Cut them a break. It's, the women thing is a red herring here, I suspect.
I'm not sure I completely agree with that, but
I don't know.
I will say it's a complex issue, which is why I didn't want to take it up at the end of the show. So
there you go. All right.
Yeah. Well, we will cover this and many other topics in future weeks. But Dave, for now, good talking to you.
See ya. And he's back.